What's up, guys? I got the pencil here back for another edition of 3 Minute Thursdays, where we talk about manga that I've read this week in 3 minutes or less. And we're going to start off with Dr. Stone. Now, let me say it here and direct. Somebody better have picked up that phone, because I called it. You're telling me, bro, the platinum ring, what was it used for? It was used to revive everyone. Just like, bro, I knew it was mentioned for a reason. Like, I'm on that next level stuff. You ain't tricking me that much, Dr. Stone. Not no more. I'm getting, and I say that like it wasn't obvious, because there's no reason for them to have mentioned it, and there's no way for everyone to be revived without a platinum ring. But regardless, the thing is, I called it. I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna hold that. I barely predict anything in Dr. Stone. I'm gonna take that one, even though it's like a one-chapter prediction and yield. But let me hop into what this chapter offers us in an interesting way. So Luna actually pulls it through. Like, she figures out something strange about the whole situation, and that Senku is possibly a friend of Dr. Zeno's, and she sends that to the crew that has the sniper Stanley with them, and Stanley is about to shoot Taiju because he sees him in his sights, but then Zeno stops him. And this is what we lead into something interesting that we can talk about, which is, I think that this complicates the arc in a really interesting way, because with Zeno knowing that the scientist is Senku, I feel like he's going to go a bit softer than what he would if the scientist was someone he didn't know, and if this was just a rival in terms of physical strength. Because we already know what Dr. Zeno just straight up believes is that, yo, if an MMA fighter woke up and they could rule the world, but I have guns, so I'm gonna shoot him dead. However, he tells Stanley to stop, and he says Senku's name with such reverence because he remembers him as this boy that did what no one else except he himself could do. And I feel like this is gonna lead to a very interesting dynamic where I don't think Stanley's gonna be tasked to kill Senku, but to get him. Like, I mean, like, go hunt him down and grab him and take him back to Dr. Zeno so they can talk, rather than Stanley just executing Senku. And maybe like, why won't Zeno have Stanley just eliminate the threat that is Senku? And I think it's because Dr. Zeno will almost have like a Senku mindset, and where they're gonna try to turn each other. Like, Dr. Zeno's gonna try and convince Senku that they need to rule the world as powerful scientists, while Senku's gonna try and convince Zeno that they need to revive everyone and change the way things were, while keeping some things the way things were with the revival of humanity. I feel like we're gonna have an interesting dichotomy in that way. And the reason I say this is because now everyone knows Ryushi figured it out. Shout out to my boy Ryushi. If he wasn't revived, I can't even imagine how this series would be going. But Ryushi straight up calls out, yo, sniper! And like, I know the next chapter, everyone's gonna go nuts, because I know like none of the Stone Age people are even gonna know what a sniper is, and the other half of the people are gonna freak out because they're gonna know exactly what a sniper is. And he's gonna have the general direction thanks to Luna being rather obvious. So that's gonna lead to a really interesting conflict. Easily, yo, 8 to 10 to 9 out of 10 chapter again. Like, it's not a 10 out of 10 just because like this is very much a setup chapter, but it's a really, really good setup, and I have to get to the next one, which is the next one we got is Hard-Boiled Cop and Dolphin, chapter 3. So this chapter, 10 out of 10. Like, okay, this may be like, yo, that's a lot of hype for the third chapter in the series, and like, you're right, but like, this series is already shaping up to be really, really good, really, really solid. And here's my thing, right? Like, I love world building, I love lore, I love worlds themselves. You'll always hear me praise a good world, or an interesting world, or a world that has potential. And despite being set in modern day Japan, like a lot of manga are, this manga has such an interesting world because it's diving into something, quite literally diving into something we don't know that much about, and this chapter highlights it. The ocean, we only know about like 5% of the oceans. That's what this chapter explains. So that means there's 95% of the species on Earth that is just completely undiscovered deep in the depths. And that is the premise for the entire series. And then it can lead to anything and everything, because Orpheus, my boy Orpheus, already told Samejima, yo, this town, yo, it's the front of ocean crime. And Samejima was just like, yo, like, I don't know, like, you mean like pirates or something like that? But nah, we see it where we get the, as Orpheus puts it, octopus exploding ball man, like, and the way that Samejima deals with it is impressive. The way that Orpheus finishes it is impressive. The way that the whole reason they even managed to do anything to the exploding octopus ball man, I'm not going to stop saying that, is because of the little detective playing a game of peekaboo with him. And that ends up getting him close enough so that Samejima can attack, and then you have the ultimate slam down on Orpheus. Like, this chapter is really, really good because it combines intrigue, action, comedy. It does what a lot of other series fail to do, where it combines multiple aspects of the comedy, of the action, of the character, a lot of stuff like that. It tries to combine it all into one, and as you'll see when I mention another manga, which I think does this badly, I think this is really, really good. It's really, really solid, and it has me intrigued in the world. And like, typically with like modern day stuff, I don't get that intrigued in the world, but since it's opened me up to an entirely different world, which is going to be the oceans of this little ocean town, it's got me intrigued. I'm ready to roll. Like, this is going to be something to remember. I can definitely tell. I can't wait to see what else happens. Like, there are obviously some big picks. We're obviously going to get a whale. We're going to get anything like tuna related, any popular fish, probably like a swordfish. And I just love how far the series could go. Like, this is a very much a, oh, this is a good chapter, and it has a lot of good potential building up from it. That's where I got to give this chapter a lot of praise. It can go leagues and leagues with this. Can it fall off immediately? Yes, but I feel like I have faith in this guy. Whoever the author is, I really have faith in them because it's really good so far. Like I said, 10 out of 10 chapter. Can't wait for the next one. Next up, we got another edition of Undead Unluck, and shout outs to Undead Unluck because the introduction of Unmove, a whole ton of stuff happens in this chapter, except it doesn't feel like a whole ton of stuff. It's very, very strange. It's not like it's paced bad or anything. It's just, it has this nice mix of, we have the whole situation where it is Unrepair versus Undead, which is Andy and Fuko. So that combination works out where Andy's literally just experimenting. And that's one of my favorite things about immortals in general, or anyone who can regenerate to an insane degree. I love when characters experiment. Like, they're willing to test the waters of anything and everything because they can't really die. And in the case of Andy, he really wants to die. So he's just like, yo, if I die here, I mean, oh well, I ain't complaining, bro. And we have him fighting Unrepair, and then we see Unrepair get shocked because, you know, Andy's just abusing his abilities to the absolute limit, since Unrepair can't really stop him specifically. And Unrepair is forced to rely on the woman that he's with, and she ends up redirecting Andy's arms, and then Unrepair throws a knife. And the thing is, the knife goes straight through Andy's arm, and then it cuts straight into Fuko, but it was slowed down a lot, so it didn't graze her that deep. But the only issue is, since it's Unrepair that threw the knife, that wound isn't going to stop bleeding, so it automatically puts Fuko on a time limit, and the only way to stop Unrepair is to kill him. So that's the next step to what Andy's going to have to do in however much time. He says an hour, but I'm not exactly sure where that time frame comes from. Maybe that's most likely how long Fuko has, but I'm not sure how he figured that out. And the best thing I have to say about this chapter is how Unmove is revealed, or well, not revealed, how he develops in the face of a horrible situation. Like, he goes from, I can barely use my ability at all, to once seeing what some complete stranger did for him. One complete stranger that completely identified with him on a level because they still speak Japanese. A lot of their world is still the same, yet flipped upside down at the exact same time. The way he directly bonded with Fuko and was forced to be like, you know what, this is it. This is do or die here. And he activates his ability. That's really great. It's really good, like, solid, quick flip character development. It's character development that is forced to happen in a situation, or else the character would have died and the situation would have ended badly. I don't mind character development like that. I think it's really good. Obviously, you can see the character isn't fully flipped because they still freak out and stuff like that. But I feel like Unmove, gonna be a super interesting fight. Can't wait for next chapter to see Andy versus Unrepair round 2, because I feel like it's just gonna be interesting, especially since we have this newer, well-developed, understanding the severity of the situation Unmove there. So it's going to be an even more interesting fight. We're probably going to learn more about Unmove and its limits and its limitations. Great chapter. 7 to 8 out of 10. Really solid. Next up, we have Time Paradox Ghost Rider. So, really, really liking this manga. I'm liking it a lot more than it was in the beginning. I stuck with the manga mainly because I really like the art, ironically enough. And now the story has me super intrigued, because it seems like a mix of, you know, your Time Paradox Ghost Rider stuff, like the, you know, the manga traveling back from the past and coming from the future into the past, and you know, our main character is trying to stop it from killing his son. No, I can't say son. Whatever, his friend or subordinate, and he's forced to write White Knight, except Now, Anima, man, why am I blanking on this character's names? Anima is now already being written. She got what she wanted. She had her dream realized, except it is the main character's goal to defeat her with White Knight, except he can't write White Knight to the same degree. That's the thing that's shown to us at the beginning of this chapter. The editor, who's always like, yo, White Knight's perfect, fantastic, he reads it and just like, whoa. Honestly, I'll be real, dog. This isn't your best work. What the heck? What's happening? And the way the main character is forced to deal with that, he's just like, yes, I know I'm not actually. Why do I keep wanting to say Uncle Ichi? I'm not sure, but this isn't actually me. I'm not actually creating this. I need to go back and figure it out myself. And the way that he's forced to dive into this, and how his own self-doubts are starting to creep up on him, starting to manifest in this thing that's telling him, you can't do it. You aren't really someone who can surpass her. You're nothing. You can't be a genius. Like, I know. That's it. I know. And the main character is just like, stop. No, we're doing this. We're doing this. We are saving her. And the determination from this man is super impressive. Like, he really out there grinding for this. And I love the fact that, like, it's forming a rivalry, which is what I know wanted initially. However, it's a one-sided rivalry because it is really the main character versus death itself. Like, he is fighting the future right now, head to head, and he can't tell her anything because who knows what would happen. But he's forced to take up this role. And I love how at the end of the chapter, if you'll notice, they're mirrored. Like, typically, the main character, you can see both of his eyes. And typically, it's Aino who has the one eye always covered. But now, they both have that eye covered up. Because now they are full on equals. And now he is fighting her to the photo finish to beat Anima with White Knight. A White Knight that he didn't start. White Knight that he must continue. And a White Knight that won't be perfection without her and her future self. Super interesting. Can't wait to see where this series is going. Great chapter, good solid tension, good solid character conflict within itself. Really, really good. I'd say good 8 to 9 out of 10. It's going to be super interesting. Now, moving on, we have Mori King. Now, this is the beach episode, I guess. Beach chapter. Wasn't expecting one of these so early, but once again, it is competition between between Mori King and between the Purple Emperor Butterfly. I can't remember his name. I need to reread the manga before I actually sit down to record these. But this is not much of a chapter. Like, I can't pull much out of it other than the fact that it shows their determination. And this is really what a character. This isn't really a chapter focused on their direct rivalry. It's much more focused on, like, sharing the spotlight, because this is where we see all three king candidates all in one area. Like, not necessarily all competing together. Like, the Praying Mantis is there, and so is the Purple Emperor Monarch and Mori King and all their servants. Everyone's here, but it's not necessarily like any ideological conflict. There's not much to pull out of this chapter. And there's not much I can really do it. I think it's just a funny chapter. That's really all I have to say about it. I can't stretch it out much longer. It's a funny chapter. I recommend you go read it. And I like how it just shows, like, one by one, a little bit by bit, the main character, Mori King's owner's sister, is slowly starting to just acclimate. Not willingly, obviously, but slowly just starting to understand, you know what? I'm in this situation. I'm gonna have to live with it. I'd say 6, 7 out of 10. Like, it's not the most solid chapter. I like the last week's chapter a lot more because it shows fundamental differences between the two kings that are actually competing. I like that a lot. There isn't really much here in terms of that. So, to move on to the next chapter, Ayakashi Triangle, chapter 5. I mean, it let my hopes down, I'll admit, because I was hoping we would get, like, an actual legitimate battle between this new Ayakashi Slayer and Here's what happens when you don't reread the main character. I was hoping we get an actual fight between them over Shirogane, since, you know, he's the king of all yokai and, you know, he probably should die. But Ayakashi yokai, I keep making them equivocal in my head. That's not really how it works. I was wishing we'd get something more like that, but I'm not sure what I expected. I expected a little bit better, because it's just like a slight fight. Like, he goes to exercise Ayakashi, he goes to exercise Shirogane, but like it fails because at the last second, Maka, I know his name starts with an M. I'm sorry. I need to. Yes, I'm going to start rereading before I actually record these because this is embarrassing. Like at the last second, the main character goes and saves Shirogane because one, trying to become a boy again. Two, because it's what Suzu wants. Like, why do I remember Suzu's name? I don't remember the main character's name. Hello? I remember Shirogane and Suzu. I do not remember either the pivotal characters of this chapter's name. I like how that bond is for, like, she's, like, the main character wants to kill Shirogane too. Like, don't even really care about becoming a girl, but for Suzu, that's the whole reason he turned she, is even letting Shirogane live. But that's really it. Like, I'm not sure, because the guy in the chapter that was introduced last chapter just wants to be a friendly rival, or yeah, a friendly rival to the main character, but that all changes because now he's a girl and yada yada yada. Once again, like 5 out of 6 chapter, 4 to 5 chapter, it's just because not much progressive happens and not much interesting happens. We're kind of just, it was kind of just an introduction for a character that seems to be like a big waste of potential and a huge drop off from last chapter. But that's really it. I don't know. There isn't really much to talk about with that one. Same thing with the next one, Bone Collection. Like, I like that Paya and oh no, I've already forgot. Pyra. What's his name? Bone Collection. I'm sorry, I'm terrible. I know I'm actually terrible. Yes, I'm gonna start rereading before I do these. But Pyra and the main character of Bone Collection, they're getting trained by the Sakurai sisters to actually learn how to harness the yokai spell better. It starts with a J. They're actually learning to harness the yokai spell better, and wow, isn't that perfect? Because the QB is breaking free, and apparently the fragment that he has in the mortal world is now coming through to the island that he's trapped on. Not necessarily sure why it's doing that, unless he ordered it to come grow part back with him. I don't really know. Like, once again, this should be a chapter. This should be a world I'm more interested in, but unlike something like Hard-Boiled Cop and Dolphin, I don't feel as interested in this world. I don't think the characters are as strong as that world. And no, this is 11 chapters in, and Hard-Boiled Cop and Dolphin is only 3 chapters in, yet I'm way more invested in those characters than I am in these characters. As you can tell, I remembered the other characters' names despite being only 3 chapters in, yet 11 chapters in, I still forget the main character of both Bone Collection and Ayakashi Triangle's names. So that shows my level of investment in each series. And I think it's just because, like, none of the, like, these characters are tropes. And, like, and a lot of characters are tropes, obviously. When I'm reading shonen manga, what do I really expect? But they aren't tropes in unique ways or memorable ways. There's not much memorable about these chapters. And that's where I'm stuck. Like, I'm still reading it because it's something to read, and it doesn't bother me. It takes like 5 minutes or 5 seconds to read, so I'll keep reading it. This one will stay here just because I don't mind it. I think it has potential because I like the QB's design and I like what could possibly happen. It looks like we could get something intense coming up. But that's really it. Like, once again, like a 4 to 5 chapter. Like, I should be more hyped for QB, but I'm even kind of not even liking his design that much. So there's how I feel on that. 5 to 6 chapter. Wow. Looking back, I'm kind of looking a bit negative. It's not gonna get much better for the next one because me and Roboco, I'm dropping it. Like, not weird to define dropping. I'm not dropping it in the sense that I'm gonna stop reading it. I'm not gonna talk about it here. Like, I will give it the 3 chapter try. Next chapter, and if next chapter doesn't do anything for me, it's like I'm actually going to stop reading it. It's not going to be included in next week's 3-Minute Thursday because I feel nothing when I read this series except mildly insulted and a bit uncomfortable. And I don't want to feel that when I'm reading manga. I read manga, I have a good time. And so I'm sorry, it's not happening. It's not happening no more. Like, this is another situation where, like, I like a good world or a world that's interesting, and a lot of these other manga don't have interesting worlds, and a lot of these manga have tropes, and a lot of these mangas have pandering. And I have a thing about fan service and pandering and references and stuff like that. If it's organically slid into a narrative, then I'm just like, you know what, fine, that's whatever, that's nice. You can point that out to a character or to the reader, that's perfectly fine. I don't really mind. But when it's all you have and it's not very interesting, and honestly, the art isn't the best. Well, because I can't say that. I can never ever say, yo, the art on this isn't that good, because I'm not a professional mangaka. I can't produce what they produce in a week. I never, not once. Could not be me. I hate to tell you that. Could not be me. But I have very little reason to read this series. None of it seems that interesting. The only hypothetical thing is like whatever the order made that the main character has is. Like, it could be a person trapped in a robot body. Does that be weird? I wouldn't really like that. Or it could just be like a battle robot that got mismade as a maid. So, regardless, not that interesting. I don't like the main character's two friends. I don't like the maid. I don't like the other maid. I like nothing about this series. And when I like nothing about a series, it goes way to the bottom of the list and it gets dropped. It's getting one more chapter chance, but then it's getting dropped. Unless chapter 3 is super interesting and reels me back in, you ain't even seeing it next week, though I will read it. Man, luckily enough, we end on a relatively high note. Ghost Reaper Girl. This isn't coming out every single week. I don't think it is. I think it comes out in like 2 or 3 week or 4 week increments. But it seems interesting enough. Like, I saw a spirit medium or soul medium or something within this chapter, and I was just like, Ayakashi Triangle, is this you, but in another body? And my mind was blown away. But I like the main character, shockingly enough. I like the main character, the female main character. I don't like the person from Hades, because he's just kind of weird. And I know that's his point. Like, you know, oh, he's the weird fanboy that also happens to be into weird stuff. Haha. But I'm definitely not going to read it for him. I'm going to read it for the world, because I'm interested to see what caused all the souls to be released. That's what I'm really interested in seeing. I want to know how all those evil spirits escaped randomly. And I want to see what could possibly happen in this world. That's really it. Like, I like the main character. I like her backstory. I like how it affects her to the current day. And I think the designs in the series is alright. I think the art's really, really good. I think the art's super solid. I cannot perfectly mimic it. Like, not even mimic, I can barely mimic it at all. I just talk it effectively. Like, I pulled out a whole half Tomoe Sharingan. My whole half Tomoe Sharingan to try and do something with one of the panels I saw here. Could not do it. This art is really, really solid. Don't know how artists do it. Whew. But that's really it. For an introductory chapter, for like a chapter 1, I'd say it's really, really solid, like a 7 out of 10. It's just me not liking the other half of the main character, and something tells me this series is just going to be weird in general. So it may never really rank up high for me, because I'll personally find it weird. I know a lot of other people will like this brand of weird, just like I feel like a lot of people will like me and Roboco's brand of weird, Bone Collection's brand of weird, Ayakashi Triangle, like all these weirder series that don't personally fit my niche. I know a lot of other people will enjoy. I'm happy. Like, just because I don't talk about a manga, just because I drop a manga, that doesn't mean you shouldn't go and read it. Maybe you'll love it. That's the thing. It's from taste to taste. This is why these are discussion videos. Like, I sit here and talk to you guys because I want to put my thoughts out there so we could talk about the rest of it. I'd love if you guys would read along with me every single week and see how our opinions pair up. If you love a chapter and I dislike a chapter, let me know. If I love a chapter and you dislike a chapter, let me know. It's just stuff like that. I enjoy doing stuff like this. And if there's any manga that I re-pick up or something like that, I will let you guys know. It's probably going to be included. And that's really it. I don't know. This week was, I don't want to say a downgrade from last week. In terms of like chapter quality, because we had a few bangers. Like I said, I believe Hardboiled Cop and Dolphin was, you know, a solid 10 out of 10. I believe Dr. Stone was a solid 9 out of 10. But then you hit, and I also, you know, I say nah, this wasn't necessarily a downgrade, because I think like the 5 series I read were really, really good. It's just those 3 low ones in Ayakashi Triangle, in Bone Collection, in Me and Roboco. Those were the ones that dragged it down. And I think Ghost Reaper Girl has a lot of potential. But that's really it. It's a good toss-up. I'd say it's probably about even the last week. There was no My Hero Academia this week. I'm not sure why, but I'll wait for next week. I don't really mind. still an interesting enough series. Can't wait to read it. And that's really all. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. You don't know how happy it makes me whenever I see someone subscribe, whenever I see someone comment, whenever I see someone like. Whew, it's amazing. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And this is That Guy with a Pencil, writing off.